stream. Exactly. Or it's funny, I don't care. All right, let me tweet this out.
Yeah. It's not real until it's on Twitter.
It's just part of the process.
Sure. Boom.
All right. Okay, folks. So we this is the live show, and we do this live. It goes to YouTube as well as to Twitch, and then we'll edit the show, and then it'll go out as a podcast in edited form. So this is the version where if we make any mistakes or whatever, it's all going to be there, and then with any luck, we can remove any or all of them before the actual publication.
For the record, I'm going to mess up a few times. Guaranteed.
Not a problem.
And here you are, meant to be a vision podcaster. That doesn't leave any hope for me.
Okay, so obviously the big part of the show will be the going over the dev stream that they just did, and that'll be sort of the meat of the news, but we got some other stuff too. So I'm going to get going here in just a few seconds. Here we go. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast. That boy is our last hope. No, there is another. This is episode 337, being recorded on Thursday, June 21st, 2018. I'm your host, Chill, but... Exactly, I chose that for a reason, without our producer and co-host, Tio. Unfortunately, Tio has decided that he no longer has time to do the show. He's, as you all know, he has been doing an amazing job producing and putting out the show, editing as well. And he's done such a great job of it for, 336 episodes. But between, every other thing he has going on in his life, he just hasn't been able to actually play the game. And he always said, even before Tio and I started the OotiniCast, like when we were first thinking about it conceptually and what it meant to do the show, we both sort of agreed that even if the show was going gangbusters and everything, if for some reason we weren't playing the game, at some point it would not make sense to continue to do the show. Either if it was both of us leaving the game, both of us should leave the show. But even if one of us left the game, at some point that person should step aside, and he's decided that it's time to step aside. So that's what he's that's what he's decided. So of course I did invite him, you want to come back this one last time. He declined. I totally get it. It's probably not the easiest thing to do. It's not bad blood. I know whenever you you get these podcasty things going on, and a host joins or old host leaves, there's always curiosity. Was there bad blood or anger? Someone pushed out. Nothing like that. He just got really busy. In fact, he did, however, write something for me to read. So I'm going to do that now. And Tio writes, I will not attempt the accent, even though I love his accent, but
totally.
I don't think I could do justice, so I'll just read it in my own voice. Tio writes, hey guys, the time has finally come to accept that it's time to step away as a regular co-host of OotiniCast. The reason is obvious to those who've listened to the shows over the past year. I no longer have time to play the game. The birth of my daughter drastically reduced my playtime, and soon thereafter ended our raiding group. The addition of my son to our family, along with choosing to do some university study, all on top of my now full-time job, and he was doing a part-time job for the first few years of OotiniCast, so that was an addition as well, ensured games were no longer something I could do. It's also the case that my interests have shifted as I suffer from Star Wars fatigue. Who could have guessed that was even possible? And find I'm more interested in my study than anything to do with gaming. All of that means that I haven't properly played SWTOR for a long time now. He's making that, that stipulation because he does get on occasionally to, like give out prizes, to people who earn them in game and a few other little things like that. But he hasn't properly played. It has felt more and more awkward being on the show with nothing really to talk about. My recent holiday and being between semesters has given me an opportunity to really ponder the situation and realize that it's time for a change. Be assured that I remain very happy with SWTOR and the direction it's taken under Keith's leadership. He's doing all the right things, though with only too clearly limited resources. I wish SWTOR all the best and hope that it continues to do well in years to come. OotiniCast will continue under Chill's sole leadership. Its timing and format may change at his discretion. It's hard for me to let go, given that we've been doing this for so long. However, enough was enough. I'd like to thank all of you who've listened over the many years and continue to listen now. You're why we started OotiniCast, and your interest has kept us going. I'd also like to thank my co-host Chill. The show was originally his idea, and I remain immensely grateful that he convinced me to make a go of it. I couldn't have asked for a better partner in podcasting. Until we meet again in a galaxy far, far away, may the Force be with you and or serve you well. That's Tio's sign-off, so that was pretty awesome. And not too much to add after that. Obviously, we're going to miss him. He's told me he is going to do a few little, although I'll be doing the editing and some of the other sort of things that he was doing. There's a few little things that he's willing to keep doing just to kind of keep from having the headache of like switching everything over. So he's going to do a few little minor things on the back end, but but other than that, and that also kind of gives him a chance to kind of keep his hand in, keep like abreast of things. And if he decides he's interested in the game again, I would have him back, of course. So as far as making changes to the game, to the show, like he mentions, I don't have any plans right now. It's too fast for me to just immediately start making changes without, having thought it all through. So for now, I'm going to stick with the every 2 weeks cadence, and I might get a second host, and I'll look into that, in the coming days and weeks. There we go. Yeah. So I do have 2 guests with me today, and they're both returning guests because I wanted, I just needed some nice support that way. Going out alone for sure, in a way that we haven't done in the last, few shows when when Tio hasn't been here, but there was he was coming back. They are Marcus from Working Nerds Podcast. Hey, Marcus.
Hey.
And Liba Roja. Yeah, sorry, I stepped on you there. Liba and Liba Roja as well. Hey, Liba.
Hey.
So what do you guys think? What do you think of Tio's heading out?
Totally gutted. In saying that, in some ways I am kind of glad. Tio, for those who don't know, Tio's got a bit of OCD, and that always always shows up prior to the show starting, checking that we've got our Audacity running, which is how we record the show for it to be edited. And between his OCD and my my anxiety, he'd always Jill knows where I'm going.
That's a combo, yes.
He'd always
Wonder Twin powers activate.
He'd always spike my anxiety just before the show, which wasn't great, but I could live with it. Right. So I'm going to. Yeah.
And how about you, Marcus? Aw, that's sweet. Marcus, how about you?
Well, so when I found you guys first, right? So when I got into SWTOR for the second time, I was just perusing around the podcast world, and I found you guys, and I started listening, and that's what got me to download the game again. And anytime, so I have a 2-year-old, so I understand, and then we're having another one, so I understand the load that's on your shoulders to be able to play games and do it. The only reason why I get to play so many games is because I just happen to stay up until midnight every night and then get up at 5:30 in the morning to go to work. So I guess lack of sleep is okay for now. And him leaving, if you don't play a game anymore, or better yet, in his case, how many times did he say he's not playing any game? So it's not that.
Yeah, it's not like he's quietly gone back to Warcraft or anything like that.
Right.
He's just doing other things.
Exactly. So when you don't play a game anymore, or games, it makes a lot of sense, and now he can focus on his schoolwork, his career, and his family. So, I tip my hat to him, and I would like to be a part of this show moving forward. I'm sure Liba would. There's plenty of people out there, Dr. Sotor, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And there's plenty of people in your Utini guild that I'm sure are willing to step up to make sure this podcast stays going, because we all care about it so much.
Thanks. Yeah, I feel much the same way, just from another angle. I know this is going to be kind of more of a shock to everyone. Obviously Tio has kind of given me a little bit more warning than this, and even a few months ago he was saying, hey, I'm just not playing the game, and we've always said if we weren't playing the game, that we should step aside. So I knew that if he did not find a way to come back and enjoy actually playing the game, that at some point he would step aside, and now it's happened, of course. So so we're still going to run, and like I said, we're not going to change. I don't want to change anything right away, because I need to think about things, and this week was kind of busy anyway, so I did not have time to do anything other than just kind of get the show ready to go at all. So plus like Tio sent a bunch of stuff to me that I have to that I had to like figure out how to make work, stuff he's been doing. So he's always been the tech guy. He's still massively more technically oriented than I am. It does help that I do have cryptography as well, so at least I have some experience now, wider experience in podcast making from a technical side than I did before, so that will help. It's still oddly a little nerve-wracking and a little like a little off-balancing essentially for me. So I don't know what else to say. I do miss him, of course, I'm gonna miss his sort of very level-headed way of looking at the news and looking at the game in general. I'll try to sort of keep the same sort of journalistic integrity almost as how I felt about Tio always, and I want to sort of keep that up as we go forward. And of course, wish him the best. He's got a great little family going. He's doing great. So it's just, it's a little wistful for sure. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about what we've done the last couple of weeks in game.
Okay, so first off, Chill, you're awesome, and it's going to be hard, but I learned a long time ago, nothing is easy. So, and you got this, and it's going to be great. So for me, though, in game, other than the live stream, I cannot wait to talk about the live stream, because I was completely hesitant on this whole PvP thing, and I played some PvP this week, and it was fun, but I was really hesitant about this whole game update 5.9.2, which we'll get into later. So I'm super excited for it. But other than that, I did a bunch of ops. We just recorded Working Class Nerds, and we had Sakari on from, he's a Twitch streamer and stuff, so, and a podcaster himself, so that was great. Yeah. And so that was great. And other than that, I'm excited to talk about the live stream.
Yeah, that. I'm looking forward to that. It was an interesting live stream, and a lot of cool stuff is coming up in the game right now. Liba, how about you?
Well, since the last time I was on, I've actually gotten my Legendary status finally.
Yay!
Finally.
That's so nice.
Wow, that's awesome.
I know.
And have you put your little flair on your characters, or at least your name?
Yes, I did. As soon as I got to the end of Corellia and the castaway on my smuggler, I immediately put it on her, and then when I logged back into my main on the imp side, she's got it too. Mm-hmm. So, but ironically, I haven't logged into any of my other characters since, so they don't have it. They don't have it.
Yeah, right. But yeah, that hardly matters.
Yeah. So had got that done finally, thanks to Jill actually getting me through that.
Right, the class that you didn't want to do.
There was several that I just didn't want to do.
Right.
So, Trooper, Smuggler. I think there was a consular there that you had me through.
A little bit, yeah. Part way. And then I think you kind of took off on your own after a little while.
Yeah. Anyone noticing a theme? Eek.
Republic, yes.
Yeah, and did a 16-man hard mode, or part of a 16-man hard mode raid. I couldn't jump in at the start of it because the guild decided to start it just before I had my lunch.
Right. Yeah, we were inviting you, and you were like, "Oh, I can't really come yet," because you had family. It wasn't just lunch. It was like family pressure lunch.
Yeah. Every weekend, for those who don't know, I live with my parents, and every weekend when they're home, they insist that we have family meals. So the guild just happened to decide to start it at like 12:30 my time, which is roughly lunchtime, so kind of couldn't get out of it without losing a roof over my head. So, yeah, had a bit of fun with that, but then jumped in later and took down, what was it? We managed one boss with me? I can't remember.
Right. Well, as a group, I was there from the start, and then we did get all the way through to the very last boss, and we worked on the last boss. But 16-man hard mode is, not super easy, and I don't think all of us had great gear. There's some people who are pretty well geared out, but not everyone is in great gear. And it was kind of a thrown together group. It wasn't like we'd all been gaming together for weeks on end or something and had each other's nuances down or anything. But yeah, considering that was a pretty solid run. I mean, 16-man hard mode. Even Karagas Palace is pretty impressive to me, as an accomplishment. And we really did. It seemed clear like we really didn't have it for the last boss. Like we weren't really even getting kind of close for him. We were just there was just too many people making mistakes, but also even the couple of attempts we made where people survived longer. His health just wasn't dropping fast enough. I don't think we were quite there gear wise. So it was a lot of fun though. It was a lot of fun. It was pretty impressive to get down some of the bosses. Some of them were really close too. So like the puzzle boss was tricky. That took several attempts, and and they're all pretty. And it was all really fun. It was a really good group.
I would say I'd say the murder droids in those rooms, because you can't stun anything. Those are tricky rooms as well.
Yes.
With what is it? The specialist, the technician, the assault droid, and then all of a sudden the murder droids come, and if you don't kill the carbonizer fast enough, the murder droids just keep spawning. Yeah, it's really fun. And 16 people, you don't realize how many people that actually is until you try to squeeze 16 people into one of those little rooms. And then it just looks like a disco inside each room.
Right. Yeah, we definitely did some trash wipes too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right. And let's see. So let's do a shout out to the chat room. Commander Root is here. Deck is here. Is Decion Dreadex. Dr. Swoter is here. Hey, Doc. X4Tor. Floridan Fees here is Fiona. That's really her name. JC, Dad and Hubby. Jokins, Liberty 2017. Liba is here as Liba Roja. Nikon 23 Naraga. Obi Quiet. Pen is here, Pen Dracos, Gayetka, Sin Wolf 69, V and K, Virgo Praz, Marcus is here as Working Class Nerds 17, and Zamzam. Hey Zamzam, how's it going? So I did a lot of gearing up on Chillvale. She's now over CXP 200 and is well into tier 3. I've also taken her, I think last time, like she was well past level 70, but I hadn't like finished all the content. So I finished Katfi Kotet. I did Iocath. I did the Traitors Trilogy. So she's all caught up in terms of story. I believe I need to unlock the Iocath daily area, but that's about it. I've done every other daily area a couple times actually, and just as you can tell from getting 200 ranks of CXP, I've been pretty busy on her. I am liking the tank assassin spec a lot. If I put like Zio on heals, I'm pretty much invulnerable to all solo content at that point. It's just slow, so I actually keep her on damage a fair bit, and then it goes a little faster, but I have to be a little careful. But then I can always force cloak and escape, so it's all good. Right, so that will bring us to the tip of the week, and we do have a tip this week, and it's from Phoebes, and Phoebes writes, "Hey, my tip for everyone is legacy storage. Cargo holds are now useless, and everything is legacy storage." Well, that's not quite true, but I think you'll see where Phoebes is going. So if you craft, gather, find, loot, buy, win, or anything else, unless an item states it's bound, then it should be put into legacy storage so that every character can make use of it. This is particularly useful for crafters. You can have multiple alts with all the different crew skills, and if you place all your items in your legacy storage, then all your other alts can take advantage. This helps especially when crafting higher end gear, and also your stronghold, war supplies, dark projects, and universal prefabs. Gather and send on crew missions, then place it all in legacy. Spend the 2 million credits on the portable legacy bank, and make it even easier than having to visit your guild ship frequently. Yeah, or you can put one in your stronghold as well. I hope this tip is informative and helps others out. Cheers, Phoebes. Thank you, Phoebes, and no random allotment need be done. You are the winner of a Tonfon or M8 3R droid pet code courtesy of BioWare, and a new OotiniCast provided cartel market pack from the latest shipment. If you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show. And that will bring us to the holo feed. Me? So yeah, I'm still used to saying Tio at the end of that. So, other than the live stream, there's only one other real bit of info that I found, which is on July 10th, there's going to be maintenance, back end only, no patch on our side, on the player side. It will be starting at 6 a.m. Pacific or 1300 GMT, and it's expected to last 2 hours. Other than that,
it's so nice to have it done overnight.
Yeah, well, right, for you anyway, and and it's nice that it's always when it's these shorter ones, not expected to take too long. So yeah, just a couple of hours ago, it was Charles Boyd and Eric Musco. They did a live stream on the twitch.tv/SWOTOR channel. It was for 5.9.2 Galactic Legend, and it was a really interesting stream. Now, did Marcus and Liba, were you able to watch it or not? Just so we're all on track.
I missed about the first 5 minutes.
Okay, so you caught most of it. And Marcus?
So I saw the whole thing. Well, in between table saw cuts, I had my phone hanging in the shop, just so with my wireless headphones with the saws going. So anything that was super intriguing to me, I got to watch. But everything else, I pretty much listened to and heard what they had to say.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Yeah. And Pin in chat says, "I'm currently downloading the PTS right now." Yes, because the PTS was one of the focuses of the live stream. We'll get to that eventually. So they at first they just sort of gave they hit the highlights as they often do. Eric really led it. Charles, of course, talked occasionally, but it was really Eric's show. There's a lot about war zones and PvP, so this is going to be a very PvP heavy patch. But there's also a new stronghold, which technically is also a PvP thing. You'll see why in a little bit. And there's also, like I say, the PTS is available to people who have subscribed. So that's sort of the broad strokes. And we'll just kind of dig down into here. Okay, so when it comes to PvP, there's like multiple levels of different kinds of changes. One is that they are making matchmaking changes. They want to make so they're going to be changing how the matchmaking goes. They generally want to make war zones shorter at 12 minutes or less. So they're going to be altering some of the rules so that they play faster. One example would be like the guns on, I think it's Civil War, or it might be Yavin, or it might be both. Will do more damage, basically just automatically cutting down the amount of time that the whole war zone takes. Stuff like that. And they're testing them. They're gonna mess around with them so that none of them are like finalized yet. You know, if I went into the details,
I think that you did that the last time I was on, Jill.
We kind of did that, and it's like, but they could still change. So if you're interested in those, we did talk about them, and then there'll be all sorts of PTS stuff coming out very soon. They're also, as discussed last time, also there's a bunch of anti-exploiting mechanisms, and some of the explanations given were like, so like in if you try to place the bomb in Void Star before you technically should be able to, it will kill you. Stuff
Instantly.
Like that. Right. It'll just blow you up.
Right, and if you try to, I guess there's some spots where you can like hide on a wall or like get in the map before it actually starts or something like that. They said that if that happens, it's instantly blow up and you die.
Right.
So essentially, they've made the maps quote unquote foolproof, so people don't cheat.
Right.
But I don't understand why people cheat. Is it really that important?
Apparently to some people, but yeah.
I guess.
And finally, as mentioned before in the last show, they're looking at scoring changes to Hutball to make it, and the idea, Eric said, was to make it more sport-like. So, in other words, it's kind of a race to 6 right now is Hutball, but instead this way you can score more, and it'll be more like a regular sport. But they're still also trying to make sure it's 12 minutes or less. So they did cut down the amount of time and stuff. So. The matchmaking changes are going to be role enforced matchmaking, which is great, and they're going to look at making it improve the skill level matchmaking so that people are around the same levels. And what they want to do is like if you have a tank, they should have a tank, and vice versa. And they're also looking at making all PvP queues cross faction, including Galactic Starfighter. So originally, if you might remember, like they were very invested in the whole Republic versus Empire thing. They considered, cross queuing in war zones to be sort of like, a little bit sort of story breaking, essentially. They've gotten away from that over time, and there's already like Odessan proving grounds where there is cross faction queuing. Or rather matchmaking. You can't really queue that way, but you match up with other people from the other faction, and they're just going to make it so that all the war zones now are going to be cross faction. So that is basically they basically just want that to be all the time, which makes sense because it'll just mean shorter queues. And all that good stuff. So it's all good.
I'm excited for the cross faction queuing. I think I've gotten thrown into a match where there were 3 healers and 1 DPS versus 4 DPS in one match, and it was just awful. And after about 35 seconds, my entire team quit, and I was left the only one alive. But I'm like, well, I'm not giving up that CXP. I'll just die. I don't care. I'm still gonna get that CXP. So I think it's gonna be good. One of my guildies said before it's gonna really mess with his lore head because he loves, the Republic so much and the lore of it, and now he's going to be healing imps in the PvP. He said it's going to boggle his mind.
Nice. Let's see. There is going to be a new arena, so it's going to be called the Mandalorian Battle Ring. They showed a picture of it, and it looked a little bit like the Torchy Flashpoint. When you do on Rishi, it looked like it was kind of from that, so that looks kind of fun. And they're also changing the. He also mentioned at this point that there was the poison change that we also talked about last time, where the poison when a tie happens and the poison comes, it's going to be changed so that 1v4 wins are harder. Because right now it's a little RNG. It's like if you can just push people away and then just be the last one to be taking ticks, you're pretty much going to win. This way, the poison takes a little bit longer to kick in and so on, but it's still just as sure. And but it makes it so that if you're ahead at the time of the poison, you're probably going to win. At least it's more likely that you're going to win. And that's fine, because there was some really. I mean, I've even on like stealth characters, I've won a couple of ones where it was like there was 2 or 3 of them still up, and I managed to like stun them so that they got the poison. Then I ran to the middle and I won. So, which felt fun, but a little unfair, even on the winning side. They also talked about Season 9 tier rewards. So, and basically how they do these is you get the tier that you achieve, plus you get whatever if it's not the lowest tier already, then you get the stuff from the earlier tiers as well. So if you're bronze, $12.50 to $14.99, you get a flag, a deco, a title, and 25,000 worth of tokens. And we'll talk about what they're going to add for the token vendor at the end. Silver, $1,500 to $17.49, flag, deco, flare, titles, and 85,000 in tokens. They just gave the numbers, but I wasn't sure whether. I'm pretty sure the tokens are just totals. I don't think that it's 85 plus 25 for silver. I think they just gave the total amount. I could be wrong. Gold is 1750 plus. It's kind of the top tier essentially, as far as just what tier are you, bronze, silver, or gold. 1750 plus. Flag, deco, flare, titles, and 250,000 in tokens. But then there is a top 96, which is the top, and they take it as the top 3 of each advanced class, and that gets a class-specific title, flare, 325,000 in tokens, and all tier rewards. So there you go, pretty cool. And as far as what you're going to get what you can buy with those tokens, they showed some weapons and they showed a mount. The weapons look pretty cool. They were. He mentioned that especially for the guns, that the designer who was tasked with this was really looking at like World War I and World War II weapons this time around. So, and that makes sense when you see them. They do have a lot of like wooden stocks and sort of black black barrels, that sort of thing. They did look very sort of World War I, World War II, early 20th century. A lot of them did look good, and he also mentioned, though, there was going to be extra effects that weren't available yet on the test server that he was running to show it. There's going to be extra, like, flares out of the barrels and stuff like that. And the mount that will be purchasable is the Battle Rancor.
That thing is awesome.
It looked amazing. Yeah, so cool. It was so cool. Like, there's already on the cartel market, you can get a Holo Rancor, and I haven't gotten it yet, but it's amazing looking. I've seen it in game, and I've checked it out on the cartel market, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's basically, if you haven't seen it, it's like a metal droid skeleton, vaguely in the form of a Rancor, but just like the very skinny parts, and then all outside of that is like this hologram of a Rancor itself. So it's both a droid and like this hologram of a Rancor, and then you're riding on top of it, and that's pretty amazing. This one is like that, only it's flaming. It's a flaming Holo Rancor. So, and it's not just like reddish orange, although it is. It's not just reddish orange, but it does in fact have like this flame effect over the entire hologram. It was really, really cool. Like, really cool. So
I regret not doing ranked PvP. I want that. I want it bad. And I can't even pay somebody millions of credits because it's going to be, I'm sure, bind to
account or something like that.
Yeah. I'm sure it'll be bind on pickup.
I'm pretty sure those are bind on pickup from the vendor. So yeah, so not bad at all. So I thought that was pretty amazing. So yeah, hopefully the PvPers will be pleased with that. I certainly would be if I thought I had a chance at that. Um, and yeah, so it was really nice. And then a big part of the stream was talking about the new stronghold, which is called the Rishi Holdout.
Unbelievable.
And they did a full walkthrough, but they also had to talk about like how it works, because as we go through this, there's like a lot of moving parts to this. It's not just another stronghold. There's a lot of stuff going on. It's very PvP oriented also. So this is yet another PvP aspect to this patch. But so it was pretty amazing. For one thing, they said it would cost roughly the same as the Yavin stronghold, which is pretty expensive. I think that was something like 12 million credits to unlock everything, maybe a little more than that. It was very expensive. It took me a long time to unlock that sucker.
I've got no hope.
Yeah, and size-wise, it's the biggest they've done. It's absolutely colossal, and they say that it has more hooks than a guild flagship. So wow, that is like amazing. When you look at Musco's video, he put no decorations down. He did do the thing where you show where the hooks are sometimes, so you could see like where hooks are versus where hooks are not. Lots of different areas. There was either 10 or 11 areas. He said he had unlocked 10 of 11. He wasn't sure if he had failed to unlock one, or if one number or the other was wrong because it's on the test server.
He realized near the end that the reason it was 10 of 11 is because there's 2 areas that were pretty much identical on either side of a room. So there was 11 areas.
Yeah.
But
so he finally got 11 out of 11.
No, he didn't open the extra one.
Oh, he didn't bother? Okay, well, at least he knows where it is, so he can get it.
And I mean, it's on the PTS, so...
Yes, and speaking of, well, I'll go ahead and mention it now. The PTS is now open, and you will find, I've already seen like tweets and stuff, like people are starting to put out stuff that's about the PTS server. So the walkthrough from that Musco did is perfectly serviceable, but the other people will be doing other walkthroughs and maybe more detailed about the Rishi holdout, and so you can see stuff like that, and people will be testing out the Warzone changes and stuff like that. So there was a bunch, and so there's just there. Not only is there like 11 areas, but it's like they're like whole sections. They're like sections of this place. It really took a long time to get around in. So much so that it includes like its own taxi, kind of like the Mbaran train thing. So there's a 2-part beach area. There's like an island. There's a little turtle critter, some hidden treasure, a hidden cave area that you can unlock. There's also right next to the beach area, there's one of the group PvP areas, and they kind of showed how it worked. So it's like this was like the less large of the 2 group PvP areas, and it was still a decent sized room. There was some hooks in it, so you can add decorations. Eric Musco did say that the decorations in general are meant to provide line of sight blocks, so that you can use them that way when you are like making your the PvP areas of your Rishi stronghold, ready for whatever kind of game, whatever kind of war game you want to do with your friends. So anyway, this area, it was kind of like a little room, and then up above there's like this viewing area, and then there are like all the doors that lead to the other areas. You can click on a little toggle, and it will shut all those doors off, so that you have this viewing area that's also blocked off, but they can watch down from above if they want to watch you do the fight PvP. But this also blocks the area, so like stealthers can't escape and stuff like that, and you know that everyone's actually in there. And so so we've already got some mechanisms that we haven't seen in other strongholds. It's very cool. And yet it was like not nearly the coolest one. There's more later on that's way cooler. So it was really cool. After that area, kind of near the beach, they went to this little staging area thing, and then through that was like the city area, which is a little bit like the kind of like the main area on Rishi. But smaller, and this stronghold is not part of that city. It's definitely, they showed a map, and it was definitely like somewhere else on Rishi, but kind of presumably semi nearby, but not connected to the existing maps. There was like higher and lower areas of the city. There's just like a big like this giant like broken like cylinder thing that was kind of cool. There was one of those rooms, like if you when you do the Rishi story, that hideout that Lana and Theron are hiding in. You go back to there a bunch of times to do the story. There's a room like that. This area also has a 1v1 PvP dueling area, so that you can set that up.
That. I can't wait. I can't wait for that, because I want to see if I can kill a healer. I'm gonna do my best.
Awesome.
Healers unite.
Right. And it also has a speeder taxi, so you can actually take the speeder back to like the beach area essentially. Then you can also click and go up to the patrol carrier, which is the ship up above. So this this stronghold does not only have like all this stuff already down below, but it also has an entire ship up above. There's an interior area, there's a captain's headquarters, there's a bridge, there's a midship area, there's a training room, which also has escape pods. I didn't see him actually try to use those, but he did mention them. There's a really cool training dummy control. So, like if you go on your ship and you've unlocked the training dummies, you know how those work. They're just static, and you fight them, and then eventually you can go out of combat, and they'll just they'll heal back up. They basically don't die essentially. But there's also this one. It's like you click on it, and it brings out a training dummy for you. So you choose the different kinds, and not only is there the war zone and the operations kind of training dummies, but there's also now a healing dummy. So
Which is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. There's an enemy damaging it all the time, and then as a healer, you practice healing so that you heal most efficiently and without running out of resources and all that good stuff. So that was cool. There's a whole new type of training dummy in the game now. Then
can I just say something about this? So the whole stronghold brought me back to Shadow of Revan, and
sure,
from all the parts where you were saying like the city, it made me remember doing what's the name? The Ravagers. The ship, the Ravagers. Now all the PvP aspects. 4-on-4, 8v8, the hut ball, all of it. I mean, they basically gave us everything we could ever want in one stronghold. But you better have 1 billion credits to be able to decorate this thing. And they better come out with some new decorations, because even if you have every decoration in the game, I don't think you could fill every hook.
It's pretty amazing, yeah. Oh, and speaking of Rishi, I didn't add this in my week, but like shortly after the last show, we had the Utini 500, and this was on Rishi, so that's kind of what reminded me of it. We had the Utini 500. We looked for Ducky. I sucked at that, apparently. I couldn't find Ducky until like everyone else pretty much had found him. But he was in a really cool spot too. I was really sad that I didn't find him earlier. I did really well in the race. I just happened
to find him, and the only reason I found him is because he's in our highly. But I'm like, wait, what?
yeah, exactly. And I did really well in the race. There was 130 and 150 sort of brackets, and the character I was on hadn't unlocked 150 yet, so I won the 130 bracket, which was cool, and I ended up getting a Veranticus mount, which was really awesome, and I've used it on that character very heavily now, so that was really fun. So that was a fun guild thing. I should have put it in my week. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll move it on the editing, maybe not. But it's all Rishi stuff, and and it does. When you go back there just to do whatever, it kind of reminds you like how much fun Rishi is, and how it both is Star Wars-ish, but it's also very, very unique. Like there's nothing else like it in the game, or really anywhere else in Star Wars exactly. There's other sort of gang things in Star Wars. There's Jabba's palace and other sort of rough and tumble areas, but nothing quite like Rishi, and I've always liked Rishi, so this stronghold is really, really tempting to me. Anyway, so after the training dummy, which is again kind of down below inside the ship, they went up to the sky deck. The sky deck is big enough that they actually have a taxi to take you from one end to the other of the top of this ship, so pretty crazy. And that's where you get to like the coolest thing about this stronghold, or about any stronghold that they've ever done. Basically, essentially in the entire top deck area, pretty much, is designed to be a giant multiplayer PvP area that you can in fact change to do different kinds of Warzone war games. It's amazing. So you can even, and in this place they've also done something else that's completely new, in addition to the other things that I'm going to also talk about that are also completely new. But you can even change out your hook layout. So normally the hooks are there, and you can, if you have like a large square hook, you can turn it into 4 smaller squares, or a rectangle and a couple squares, stuff like that. But this one, you could actually change which hooks actually show up on the ground at all. Like there's one that's a little more spaced out. There's one that there's one that has more hooks. And then there's one that was basically just like 4 gigantic hooks, so that if you want to, you could just make this like a carrier, a helicarrier, for like if you didn't care really about the PvP aspects, you could turn this into a giant helicarrier and just put your like class ships up on top of this. 4 different class ships. If you've seen any of the like single class ship areas in someone's stronghold or your own stronghold, that's a pretty big hook. There's 4 of them up there. And so that was pretty cool too. You can also change like where there are some walls that show up, which is why one of them doesn't have very many hooks, is because there's these walls that you can make show up with ramps and things like that on them, and to completely change how this area plays as far as PvP goes. And then what you can do is, again, you can lock the exits so that people know that there's an actual so when the game starts, no one can escape and all that stuff. But you can either have it do as a team deathmatch, or you can have it do it as a hut ball, and you can actually play hut ball inside one of your strongholds now. So cool, so cool. And they even Musco even showed how it worked. So he made it so that like the walls appeared, so you could see, oh, okay, now there's ramps and stuff like that. And then he started it up, and you have these giant scoreboards on the side, so that you can see what the scores are for the different for the 2 different teams. He showed you how you choose the teams. Like everyone has to click on frog dogs or rotworms, and then once you're ready, presumably equal teams or whatever, however you want to set it up, I guess. I would, obviously, equal teams make sense, but, you don't suppose you have to. Then you can start the game. It will teleport everyone to their starting areas, and essentially start a game of hutball. And after that, it plays like hutball. You run over, you grab it. He showed him running over, grabbing it, running it back, running it into the end zone, and then you saw the score immediately go 1 more for frog dogs, because that's the one he chose. And just very cool. I mean, this is the kind of functionality that's like light years beyond what we've seen in any other stronghold. I mean, really, other than the hooks, and then a couple of like elevators, like in Manan, and the taxi on Umbara, the functionality has been extremely basic. Sorry, what was that, Liba?
Yevon's got the speeder too, if you pointed out.
Oh, that's right. Yevon has a speeder too. Right. So there's 2 other speeders in the game. But this is like, and then this is like going from elementary school to like postgraduate. I mean, this is like crazy, crazy cool stuff. It's really, thank goodness they are doing like this. And I understand now why they're doing this big public test server, because, this has got to be tested extensively, because I'm sure this is all completely new stuff for them, and I'm sure they did. I'm sure this took a long time coming. What did you guys think of the Rishi Stronghold?
loved it.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of wanting to get in there to try and make it break, just because of my computer geeky stuff, you know.
Hmm.
I I look forward to being able to PvP with guildmates and friends, just because how many times do you get into a match and you look up in the chat room and somebody's yelling at you for doing something wrong? What better than your friends in Discord yelling at you because you're doing something wrong and you're causing them to lose? You know what I mean? But it's all in fun. So I really look forward to it, and it's an opportunity to learn how to play PvP or even Hutball without being in a real match and feeling pressured that, to learn the mechanics of it.
It's an excellent point. In fact, Fiona was saying even I would like to play hutball with friends, which is unusual for her, and it makes sense, and it would take a lot of the pressure off. It would be just a lot more fun. There's a question if you have to have the hutball deco. It didn't look like it because he said he did not place any decorations in there, and the hutball functionality worked fine. It seemed to just automatically put this little hutball holder right in the middle of the room, and that seemed to be how that worked. So I don't think it was decoration
No.
oriented.
I saw on Twitter when I was still working on my way right as I was leaving, and it said that no other MMO has this feature in one of their house, stronghold, whatever, ship, anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is really, I don't know, innovative, because it's allowing it's asking for us to make guild events and doing fun things.
Yeah, and I'll be curious to see, like, are there Rishi PvP achievements, like, getting so many kills or scoring so much in Hutball? Are there achievements for it? I don't know if they've added that or not, or if maybe they'll add it later. But that's
Maybe they haven't thought of it, and when they listen to the podcast, they'll
maybe so. I don't think it'll give you like maybe it will or maybe it won't, but I don't know if it'll give you any world PvP achievements. Maybe it would, but I have a hunch that it wouldn't. It seems like that would be odd, but maybe it does. I guess we'll have to see.
Yes, we will. But if you're going to download the PTS, know that you're downloading the entire game again.
Right. Yeah. So as far as the PTS, it's now open. They opened it up at the end of their stream. If you are a subscriber, what they call a premium player, you can access it. And then they suggested you go to the PTS forums or the PTS blog for details. And when I go there, basically, it tells you how to move a character over to the test server, because you have to basically copy copy a character over to the test server, and then you do basically download the whole game again, and it essentially becomes a second copy of SWTOR on your system. And other than that, it pretty much works the same. You log in and you just get going. The target release date for this patch is July 31st, so it's a few weeks out. They are definitely looking for people to do all kinds of feedback on this, like all the Warzone matchmaking changes, all the changes to how Warzones are scored and sped up and so on. They want to know, they want to get feedback on how that's working. Is it working properly? What do you think about it? Is it too fast? Is it not fast enough still? Is it messing up balance, anything like that? And I'm sure there'll be, and of course, tons of people testing out the Warzone, or the personal PvP in the Rishi Stronghold. So if even if you're like not really normally a PTS person, this might be tempting to you. It's kind of tempting to me. I don't know if I'll actually do it or not, but I'll be definitely keeping an eye on like what some of the people in the SWTOR community are doing and saying about the PTS, because this one's kind of a bigger one than a lot of the PTSs that they've had in the past. This is a really important one.
Come on, Chill, you're in the beta.
It's true, but I also have like there's like part of my brain that's always like, well, if I do it there and I achieve anything cool, or if I get like something, if something cool happens or whatever, it doesn't actually affect my actual characters. So I always feel like there has to be a reason. This might actually be a reason to do that, because you go there, you actually get to see this cool new stronghold and like run around in it. And it's like, I mean, I described it as big, and yeah, it is big, and you can watch Musco's walk through, and there will be others. In fact, there are others available right now. But it is huge, and there's a lot to it. So, yeah.
And you're also allowed to stream it, I noticed. I think someone asked on Twitter, you're allowed to stream it. So there you go.
Yes. Yeah, there was, Musco let it be known to the community that that they would be allowing it this time around. So, which is really nice, and it's kind of rare, because usually PTS stuff is under under do not NDA stuff. So
yeah.
So let me see. Let me check the stream or the chat
Show
real quick.
notes.
Yeah, and it would be great training area for war zones. And like I say, and it doesn't have to be hutball. You can do it as a death match too, which is nice, because there's obviously a lot of, if you're practicing your arena teams or something like that, it would be really good to be just like taking your three other buddies, so that you have your team of 4, and practicing against someone else that, maybe from your guild who you also know is good, and you can just practice 4v4ing and getting really good at it. There's just a lot to be said for this, and it's really unique. I mean, I remember when strongholds were first coming out, and there was a lot of sort of suggestions along these lines, like questions like, can you add certain decorations so that we can make like gaming modes and stuff like that? And they kind of downplayed it. They kind of said, no, we can't. Partly is they deferred it because of their relationship with Lucasfilms and now Disney. They have to be very careful about control of the franchise and stuff like that. But this way, you can do these war games, and it's still very much in BioWare's control. The only real changes you can make is you can just change the layout of the actual map, and whether those ramps and walls show up, and then which decorations, if any, that you put in. Like if you like wide open war zones, which there isn't a whole lot of in SWTOR, you could actually test that out and see what is that like. If you're doing like a death match and it's a wide open map, what does that feel like, where you can't get out of line of sight and stuff like that? It might be interesting. Musco also mentioned that one of the other things they want to know from people who do test on the PTS, if this is something you're looking to do, is they want to know, are the decorations working the way they should work? If it's a type of decoration that you should be able to jump onto, can you jump onto it? And, is it providing line of sight? All that sort of thing, because it's going to be really fun to see how this works out.
They also reiterated several times that the release date is targeted for July 31st.
Yes.
But if they find a real big bug, then then they go,
right.
They want to put out a good product rather than say we're releasing on July 31st and then
yeah, that they've always been like that, and I'm glad they are. I mean, because they've hardly ever had drops, especially drops of this sort of size, where something kind of big is coming down, and where it absolutely just completely goes sideways and it has game-breaking bugs in it. Yeah, they do, but usually it's like smaller weird ones that they have to kind of like fix. It's like, oh wow, this is causing this bug that just didn't show up because it's kind of rare, but when you've got thousands and thousands of people playing live, then it shows up. But you don't have, but they've been pretty darn good about having, just the basic quality is there and it's ready to go. And if they will delay it if they have to, for sure. But it's pretty exciting to know. This is, we're in the month of July already. It's at the end of this month is what they're hoping for. So that's really cool.
I think the testing is great. I would much rather them test it and find that there's some problems and delay it a week than release it on the 31st and it's just broken. I think they're
totally.
doing it right. Yep. Yeah. And just for the record, some of your guildies are already calling out the nights, the Utini Fight Club, Utini Fight Night, Friday Fight Nights with Otuni Rage. Oh man, that's funny. I think it's going to be great, and I think it's going to bring people together, and that's essentially the baseline of an MMO, right? It's to get everybody together to, play a game together and with people, and I think this Stronghold is going to do that.
Absolutely, it almost feels like a new guild flagship in the sense that it should be a very social stronghold. People do things in strongholds all the time, whether flagship or not, but this one almost feels like a guild flagship, because it's so designed to have other people brought onto it to do things with you.
Right. And didn't they say that coming later this year is going to be a lot of guild improvements? I wonder if this is the beginning of it. This Stronghold is going to incorporate into these great guild events or whatever they're doing for guilds. I wonder if this is like the prequel episode 1 of the guild improvements and they're just not saying it yet.
Right. The Phantom flagship. Right. All right. Let's see. So I think we're good then. So basically it comes down to the PTS, the new Stronghold on Rishi, the new arena map is Mandalorian Battle Ring, and then a bunch of Warzone and matchmaking changes, and the target release date again, July 31st. We'll go to the force feedback. We'll read out your tweets and emails. I wanted to read one from Ari in the guild, of course, who is also the beau of Tio. And she tweeted out, "Shout out to this guy. Over the past nearly 6 years, he's run a SWTOR podcast, the OotiniCast. We've had 2 children. He's worked full-time and studied full-time. Seriously, he needs a medal for all he's done and does. All my respect and love. Now time for him to relax a little." And it's true. So.
Oh, totally. And I have a feeling this is kind of foreshadowing what we've learnt today, and Tio's quitting OotiniCast. In some ways,
so too, because this came a couple of days ago.
Yeah, and this came before even Chill was letting us who are going to be on the podcast today know that Tio's actually quit.
Right.
So, but obviously Tio would have been discussing it with Ari before he told Chill and then let it filter out to us. Right. So,
and also our guest Marcus is from Working Class Nerds. He's at Marcus B814 on Twitter. And Marcus, tell us a little bit about your podcast.
We are so I do the podcast with my cousin / best friend Nick, and we do it every other week. I have now gotten Nick into Star Wars: The Old Republic, and if you can go back in time and remember when you first downloaded it and you picked your first class and you went through your first class story, that's the excitement that's coming out of him right now.
Nice.
And it's a fresh of breath air. Or I guess I said that wrong. I said that completely wrong. What a fail. That's all right. So we discussed Star Wars: The Old Republic. That's what I play, and any other games. And then we do pop culture, some movies, Star Wars movies or whatever Marvel movie comes out. We'll touch on it if we watch it. But really, it's a Star Wars: The Old Republic and anything Star Wars kind of podcast. We record every 2 weeks. Working Class Nerds. Check us out. If you want to be on the show, just message me. We'd love to have you on.
Awesome. And so Tio, we miss you if you're listening to this. I'm sure you'll probably check in on this episode. We do all miss you. And of course, if some time passes and you find your love for the game returning and you want to come back either as a guest or to co-host again, of course, I'd have you back in a second.
I think we need sorry to butt in, but I think we really do need a show where Tio comes on. No pressure, Tio, of course. But where Tio comes on, where we can actually say our proper goodbyes.
That'd be nice, yes. All right, then that's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /c join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. Marcus is, again, at MarcusB814 on Twitter. We record the show live semi-bi-weekly on Thursdays, usually, again, at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, sometimes. The cadence has been good, but the exact time and date has changed quite a bit. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby. And thank you to the chat room, and thank you to Marcus and Leva.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And we'll see you next week. All right, that's the show. You guys keep recording on the Audacity while I wrap things up. Thanks for coming, everyone. Obviously, the TO was the big thing for the show, and I'll just keep plugging away. I'll have to figure out what I'm gonna do. Maybe co-host wise, or just lots of guests. That works too. Thanks for everyone's support. Appreciate it, and we'll see you in 2 weeks for sure. But of course, and I do now have control of like the OotiniCast Twitter. At least I think Tio still technically has it as well, but I do have a hold of that. So if you see it from tweeting from now on, it'll probably be me, and I've also got a lot of other stuff to figure out. So if in terms of the final version of this episode that goes out as a podcast, I'm going to be editing that just tonight. I've got to take care of dinner with my son, and then I'll get to going on that. It'll probably be out in 4 or 5 hours, something like that. And we'll go from there, because of course we normally record on Thursday, put it out on Friday, but because I was not available yesterday, this is when we're doing the recording. So thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time. I'm going to stop the stream.
See ya.
And stop the hangout, or broadcast anyway.